What is up, YouTube? So today I want to talk about the potential for only 1% of total HEX to be staked in November, when the big payday is going to happen on, I think, November the 19th. So only 1% staked. So I have this small piece of data only, and the hex data always changes, so we don't know how the future is going to look like. But if we just look at 1 day of data, I saw the hex locked hex go from 19.5% locked to down to 19.38% locked. Now if we look at how much percentage difference that is in 1 day, let's see. So let's see if we put in this number over here, 19.5 minus 1938, that's 0.12% decrease in staked hex in 1 day. Now how many days is it to November 19th? So I can use Google days until November 19th. 143 days. So if you would have the same decrease, same as that day, then we take 0.12 times 143, 17%. 17% decrease. So if we go with 19.38 minus 17%, we're down to around 2% hex staked. That is pretty close to 1% hex staked. And if it would decrease at a little bit faster rate, you are going down to 1%. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. So there's so many game theory exciting aspects about hex. So this is kind of interesting. So if you don't know how hex works, it is kind of interesting when you go down to these smaller levels. So when we were at 70% hex staked, and then went down to around, at the moment it is around 20% hex staked. We went from, let's see, 70% locked hex, 5% inflation, to 18%, 18.45% inflation. That's around, what is that, like 3x, almost 4x? So that may sound like a big deal, but if it would go down from 20% to, okay, let's take 1%, then that would be, how much would that be from the top? The difference in inflation compared to 5% at 70%, we take, so you get, the inflation is 369% at 1% staked. So if we take 369% and divide it by 5 at 70%, that's a 73x difference in I guess inflation rewards, comparing 70% locked hex and 1% locked hex. You can see that the biggest key difference here that makes the biggest X here is when you're going down below, let's say 10%. When you're going below 10% locked hex, that's really when it's speeding up, and you can see that the staker class are earning so much more compared to before. So it's really interesting. So if we study hex, and we saw, I think around 2 months ago or something like that, it was like 26% staked hex, and now around 2 months later, it's 6% less, the percentage. So it seems, and when we're looking at the rate, yeah, it really seems like it can go down below 5% staked hex. And if it's going to those places, the staker class are really going to do well. I mean, they're really going to do well. They're really going to do amazingly well. And it is kind of funny game theory wise, because I didn't even consider this aspect, because it felt like, well, it's probably not going to go down that low, like 1% staked hex or like 2% staked hex. But when you start to consider the game theory aspect of it, where if you have more unlocked coins, maybe that's smarter. Maybe that's smarter because if you have a lot of unlocked coins, you get a higher market cap, and maybe you can flip some of these big coins on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko or Nomics. And if you can flip one of these big coins, more people are probably going to pay attention to HEX because at the moment, not that many people know about HEX. Really not, because it is being gate kept by most of the big players. So it's going to be really, really interesting game theory wise here to see, because when Hex launched, the more the game theory that people are kind of considering is we're going to have most of the coins locked, but then we will get a lower market cap. And now the game theory smart aspect seems to be at having the least amount of hex staked at around November 19th. Because if that happens, the staker class are going to do so well the last couple of months before the big payday. I mean, they're going to do extremely well, because if you're going down to that pool ROI of at 2%, it's 184%. At 1% staked, it's 369% per year, I guess, in the inflation aspect. Comparing to the current rate, I think it's around is it around 20% now for the average maybe? I don't know exactly, but you have to do the math yourself. But it seems to be, if it goes down to these percentages, it would be like an 18x increase compared to around 20% staked. So it's a huge, huge difference. It's like the first couple of months here is going from 70% staked to 20% staked. That was only like a 3x, but this would be like a 70x relative compared to 70% hex staked. It's a really, really hard to kind of realize what kind of numbers we're kind of playing with over here. And there are also a lot of other interesting aspects. So if you combine this with this other kind of FOMO aspects that you have about Hex, how well the share price should kind of skyrocket after November 19th. So the shares are just going to be so rare. Or you have to stake so many Hex to get Hex shares. And just because the share price always goes up, it seems like it seems eventually like shares are gonna be 100x more scarce than Hex. Because okay, so the first couple of months here of Hex, it's been around for around 6 months now, maybe 7 months. It's been going down around, yeah, you get 5% less shares compared to at the beginning. So it started at 100 million shares per staked Hex, and now it's down to 95 million only. And that's already a pretty big decrease in what you're getting. And that's going to exponentially move faster, especially after when the big share price, when people take those profits in November, that is probably going to make the share price skyrocket. And I already see it right now. If I look at the share price, I think it's going up really fast. And this is before that big payday, and it's going to get even crazier after I think the big payday because there's so many guys that are kind of going to end their stakes around, especially the months after the big payday. So between February 2020 to no to from November 2020 to February 2021, so many people are gonna take some profits, and then they're gonna ratchet up the share price, which means if they want to get back in again, they're kind of gonna get wrecked. Which is also why we've seen some guys doing end stakes and like restake for way longer. So the average stake length at the moment is around 5 years. So it seems like a lot of people are going to get wrecked. They're doing short stakes. And my definition of short stakes is if it's below 5 years, it's kind of short, I would say. Because I mean, just look at so Ethereum has been around for around 5 years and basically nothing has happened. So it's probably going to be around for another 5 years, and we're probably not going to see that much kind of improvements. So a 5 year stake in Hex, I think, may not even be that long because people have 10-year stakes, they have 15-year stakes, And most people are gonna get most of the HEX. It's gonna happen when they're moving from year 14 to year 15. I mean, that is so many shares, or that is so many HEX they're probably gonna get that time, because it's like exponential. It's the same as this pool ROI on stake percentage of HEX. You barely detect the first couple of months when, okay, this only a 3x, you get 3x more inflation or something like that, from 70% to 20%, but then it's like 70x relative if it goes even lower. So most of the rewards is very, very interesting with the share price, that you may not see the share price coming, and you also may not see this pool ROI coming, that a lot of people may earn tons from inflation, way more than people kind of imagine possible even. And since you have all these like compound effects of like longer pays better, that they're getting exponentially more shares, and that you have that the pool ROI may be very, very high for quite some time, if the staked HEX is low. Oh my god, like wow. So very, very fun to study. Like, I love all the data about HEX that you can get on hexinfo.ioi, hex.vision, what kind of more websites, hex.live, also very, very interesting. So I mean, the fiat price I think is one of the most boring thing, or it's a little fun, right? But the share price and looking at the pool ROI and looking at the end stake penalties, I think that is really, really fascinating game theory wise. So I think actually the real HEX kind of begins after 2023, 2024, because that's when it's going to be so scarce. Like, it's going to be so, because new guys that are coming in then, if they're buying HEX and they're staking it, they're not going to get that many shares, you know, so they're not going to earn as much as those early guys. And that's kind of interesting game theory wise. So it's also very interesting to consider, like, there are also other interesting aspects that can happen with HEX. You may see in November billions of HEX being staked for like max stake length or something like that. You may actually see that happening. And that would actually, that would make it so it may go from 1% staked to 99% staked. So it's like you don't really know what's going to happen, right? It's a complete project, it's a finished project with no expectation, price can go to zero. And it's like, it's very, very fun. It's very, very engaging, that it can both can go from, it can go below 1% staked, it can go up to 99% staked. And it can do that very, very fast, you know. So that's kind of fun, how you have that kind of aspect in HEX smart contract that you do not have in kind of other projects. So if it goes to 1% or 2% staked, or 3% kind of staked HEX, I mean, the staker class are going to be very, very happy people. And if you look at, so I've been looking at hex.vision, how long people stake for, and most people, there are not that many people that seem to be that intelligent to do 2031 to 2031, 2031 to 2034 stakes, because, and even 2035. So 2035 only has around 700 million hex staked, which is kind of weird, I would say, because there's kind of like a lot of stakes that they are 10 years, but almost barely none between 2031 and 2034. I think it's around 600 million last time I checked. Maybe more now, probably it's more now. But and then there are maybe a couple of billion at 2030. But then you have this period also between 2025 and like 2028, 2029, where almost there's very few stakes there as well. So it's very, very interesting to look at it, how people, so most people are kind of like now preparing almost like an exit, it seems like, after the big payday, which I think is kind of weird, right? When you can get exponentially more rewards and exponentially more shares if you stake longer, because you want shares more than HEX, because shares are so much scarce. And I mean, a couple of more years, is it really that much? You know, I mean, time is going to take on anyway. And you're also probably going to earn a ton of other cryptos during this time. You're also going to probably have a faster computer and faster smartphone and faster gadget that can probably print tokens for you in something else also. But the shares, like, you're never going to be able to, it's going to be very, very hard to get them in the future. So it seems like people should focus on the shares instead of focusing on kind of the fiat value, you know. So that is kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. Yeah, very, very exciting. There is not that much going on inside of the crypto industry. I saw today that DTube, they did a chain reset of their DTC. So now if you're voting, you can see the real DTC kind of value that you're going to see in the mainnet, and it looks very, very promising. I've been following the DTube project for around 2 years, and yeah, I really believe in the DTC coin. I believe it can hit the top 5 crypto, maybe even top 2 crypto. And so I believe HEX and DTC is really going to be very, very high up there, because I mean, they don't really have any competition out in the market. Like, most of the other crypto communities are kind of failing. BTC is kind of, their community is very, very boring, not engaging. The DPoS community is not that very exciting at all. So it seems like we're kind of are in 2013, right? But that we're gonna do a few things a little better this time. Better smart contracts, better video creators that are highly, highly engaged, better whales, better voting system, better game theory. So there is a lot of these very, very cool things here that I think is being improved. But we believed in this idea a couple of years ago that we would have this cryptocurrency industry with thousands of coins and thousands of successful projects. Well, that didn't pan out, did it? A lot of incompetence. But mainly what I've been seeing is there's a lot of projects that could have been successful if people would have been more consistent, and if they would have been less wasteful with the value that they brought in. So we've been seeing a lot of wasteful aspects, like a lot of people have been getting money in, but then they were incompetent or wasteful of the value, or didn't really know what they were doing. And then we kind of have to start from zero again. So probably 2021, 2022, 2023, we're going to see more promising altcoins with better markets and better industries. And as I said, probably most of the 2017 coins are going to die off, because most of them probably do not have a real market in the real world. And here in the future, 2021, 2023, people are tired of a lot of nonsense projects, and they want real solid stuff. They want solid, competent teams that actually can show that they can deliver something real and honest to the market. And they also want to be associated with amazing brands. And building up brands is something that there are very, very few teams that are competent in. And you need also the right people that kind of have experience. For example, me, when I'm focusing on video, I've been doing videos on YouTube since 2007. That's when I uploaded my first video. And it takes a long time to become competent in something, and kind of knowing where the industry is going. For example, I used to invest in smartphones and focus a lot on smartphones, but now smartphones are so good. So now I focus way more on crypto vloggers. They're doing a good job with YouTube. And it's just like the next kind of evolution of things that we're going to vloggers, like real vloggers. We started to see them pop up 2017. And it's just the next phase, because smartphones are so good now, so we can focus on the human beings instead, which is kind of cool. So we're coming up now to the most exciting months of the HEX launch phase. And I said that for me personally, maybe July is not going to be that interesting in HEX, but I think August is going to be a really interesting month for me to study, because usually in July people are on vacation or something like that, or they're just enjoying summer. But August, people go back to school or their job, and I think it's going to be interesting to study HEX then, because we saw the run up in April, and I think we're going to see maybe something exciting happen in August. Doesn't that happen, but August, it's I always been enjoying seeing what happens in August. So Hex in August, I think it's going to be interesting to kind of study, and also Hex in October, 1 month before the November big payday, is going to be really, really exciting times. So key months of Hex, I think, is going to be, well, we saw April and hopefully August and then October. Those are the months I kind of believe in. Yeah, so very, very fun. Okay, they're very, very exciting project to follow and see how it's gonna roll. Yeah, have a great day, D2.